So welcome everybody. This is another edition of MBH's monthly board chat. And today we have our new CEO of MBH's board. We have Sylvester. So we're so happy to have you join us again. And welcome to the new year. And maybe you could start off by telling everybody what you did last month, or actually last week.
Yeah, will do. And great to be with you. And thank you for stepping in for Lisa while she's busy in a way. So thank you for that. Really grateful. So last week came over to see you in the States, spent some time with you, and went over to see Jim over at Boulder Sausage as well. And for investors, me and Melissa know each other a lot better now because my suitcase went missing. So she was my hero, rescued me without any suitcase. But yeah, came over to the US. I've been going around seeing all of the companies. All the UK ones have now had a visit towards the back end of last year and some into this year. This is the first visit to the States since you guys joined, I think, isn't it? I don't think we've had any opportunity.
No, just because of COVID, it was very prohibitive. So as for our company is Everyday Realty Services, and we're on the property sector. We were also the first US company to join. And so bringing the companies closer, bringing the board closer to give some impact and some advice and coaching and just meeting our staff was pretty powerful. It's a good way to recognize that business has to be done in person. We could be a global company, but by you making that effort to come out showed not only that the board really cares, but it gave us an opportunity to collaborate. And I thought that was really great. And then also to go over and see Jim Burton, who's running Boulder Sausage, and seeing what's going on in his manufacturing world and how that's changed with COVID. And you even got to taste some of the sausages, right?
I did. I can proudly say, other than Jim, I'm the first person in MBH that's been able to sample some of them amazing sausages from Boulder Sausage. So, but yeah, it was really, really productive. And I'm really grateful to you and Jim for your hospitality as well while I was there, and your families, because it does knock everybody's routines out. But it was so good to spend time with the team, hear about what's going on in the businesses, understanding what plans you all have, what you'd like to see, how as a group we can come together. And like you say, I think some of the best part is that idea, that sort of brainstorming or mind mapping, if that's a more PC word these days, but that actual idea generation. Because I think when we meet up, we do meet up, and we meet up as a group, don't we, a couple of times a year. But I think the difference, those one-to-one sort of spells of time, where it's a good few hours, a good few days, where we're really getting underneath of everything far more in depth, I think are incredibly valuable and just add to the rest. So I'm off to the other side of the world later in the year. I'm going to be off to Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, see the companies over there, and hopefully bring some back. But it was really interesting because one of the things I really learned was that the ideas and the contacts and the resource and the talent that we have in the group really shone through from you and Jim, really shone through from the people in your organizations, and how we can start to use that more. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I think these visits are adding massive value to everybody.
Very cool. And also, you implemented some changes that happened in the board. Maybe you could talk to those that are listening a little bit about that and how that's really spearheading the company a little bit forward right now.
Yeah,
so COVID.
So the board has obviously some seats on there for principals. So we have some really strong principal representation on the board. But one of the key things has been about bridging the gap between with the decision making in the organizations, particularly as we're growing and we're getting more companies into the group. When we first started out, it was quite easy when you have a small number of companies to be sharing a lot of information between us. But as we're growing, and as we're growing across the different parts of the world, it was how could we bring all that connection again, bridge that gap and use that information, with the board. The board's a servient part of the business. They are there to serve, whoever the stakeholders are, particularly our people in the businesses, which is people like you and your teams. But one of the key things we've been doing is, I've called them tiger teams, but they kind of operate like a think tank. So we have particular areas of focus across the business. So, for example, acquisitions is one of them. And the idea is it's a smaller group of principals that work far more in depth on a particular part of the business, coming up with ideas, coming up with recommendations, and coming up with actions that we can take forward as a group. And the real valuable thing that's coming out of this is the level of depth is definitely adding value to the conversations, but I think it's the sharing of the time and resource and making more effective use of time. And I know you've been part of a tiger team. How did you find it when you were part of one?
I loved it because you get to tap into that talent. When all 26 of us are in a room together, it's very hard to be productive. But if you put groups 3, 4, 5, and 6 people together to accomplish a task, the other thing is it's more of a divide and conquer. So I was working on exploring other markets we can get into. And so that team worked really well and harmonious together. Everybody chipped in from their own expertise from different parts of the world. We could make a united decision. We presented it to the board and it was approved very easily because we could trust that the principals did their work, right? Didn't need all 26 of us doing it, just the 3 of us that really needed to look into it. And then there's been other ones like, we're looking at things like onboarding. What would that look like? What would that team gives an opportunity for every principal to participate, which I love that part of it. And then also each principal to shine in their strengths. When we're all in a room, again, our resources, our strengths are kind of masked by so many people. But when you dig deeper and find out what their skills or expertise, their network is, it gives us more room for growth. And so I really love the tiger teams, think tanks or whatever. And the nice part is that we can trust that the other principals have our best interests at heart because we're all aligned, right? So especially when it comes to acquisitions, we know that when it's presented, it's not going to get declined necessarily because we're the majority of the people who approve it. And it's also streamlining the process for our vetting company, Unity, and also for the principal that's, potentially joining. They have a streamlined process too. And so I think it's a little bit more welcoming because we know a little bit more about them. We could be a little more creative and deal structure because not every business, especially post-COVID, can fit into a cookie cutter mold. And that's not how business is really designed anyway. So I love the flexibility. I love the creativity, and we're much more efficient at getting answers. And so when we take a vote, I think we had for the first time 2 votes right in a row that had 100% participation from the active members. So that was pretty cool to see. So definitely progress. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And all that, all that information, all that feedback, all that idea generation, that's feeding into the board and contributing to the decisions that are being made. And I think we've looked at the strategy, and you're right, the business is not the same post pandemic. So, really having to think about the next phase of our journey is really important. And acquisitions and bringing new people into the group, what that looks like, where they fit, how they fit in with the strategy. We're doing a lot of work. The think tanks, tiger teams have done a huge amount of work around what that looks like. And I think that's really important in terms of how that's going to be adding value to the group, and focusing now on those depth of verticals and how we grow those verticals that we've created even more and create more depth and substance to those verticals. So it's been very exciting. I think I'm now coming up to 2 months, I think maybe 6 weeks or something like that. But really enjoying it, really finding it valuable, really enthused by everybody's positivity and motivation and how we're developing as a group. So yeah, exciting times ahead. A lot of work to do, but
Yeah.
I think in business there's always a lot of work to do. Don't mind that. We're all grafters, aren't we? You know, it's not we're not daunted by the work, but I do think we're moving in a really positive direction, and I think the companies we have in the group have got so much value to add to this group, and really looking forward to seeing how we evolve over this year and next year. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. So I think for our investors and those that are watching, this gives a little bit more insight into how the changes and the momentum is propelling us forward.
Find out more today at mbhcorporation.com.